Let me tell you what's actually happening right now. Every week there's a new headline. AI wrote production code. AI deployed an entire application. AI has passed a technical interview. And if you are working in Azure or you're trying to break into cloud engineering, you've probably sat down with the question you do not always say out loud. Am I building towards something or am I building towards obsolescence? I have been in this industry for several years. I've worked inside enterprise Azure environments, consulted for organizations navigating major cloud transitions, and coached IT professionals making the move into cloud roles. And right now, that question is the one I hear more than any other. So let me give you a straight answer. Yes, AI is changing what cloud engineers do. Some of the repetitive execution level work is getting automated. That is already happening and it will keep happening. But here is what the headlines leave out. The engineers who are in the strongest position right now are not the ones scrambling to stay ahead of AI. They are the ones who recognize early that there is a category of engineering work that AI is structurally unable to perform, and they built their careers around it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5 specific skills that put you in that category. Not buzzwords, not a certification list. Skills that compound in value the longer you develop them, and that become more valuable, not less, as AI continues to mature. Let's get into it. Skill 1, building with an AI-first architecture mindset. Most people are thinking about AI integration backwards. They build a system the way they've always built systems. Compute, storage, database, application layer, and then at the end they ask, where does the AI piece fit? That approach produces systems that sort of work with AI, but were never actually designed for it. The shift I want you to make is this. Before you choose a single Azure service, before you draw the first box on an architecture diagram, ask yourself one question. If intelligent automation was handling the majority of the workload here, what would this system actually need to look like? That question rewires how you design everything. It changes your data layer decisions. AI workloads do not behave like traditional application workloads. The volume is different. The access patterns are different. The latency requirements are different. Reaching for Azure SQL out of habit when Azure Cosmos DB or Azure Data Lake Storage is actually the right fit for the access pattern. That is the kind of decision that costs organizations significant money and rework down the line. It changes how you plan for scale. AI inference workloads spike in ways that traditional applications don't. Engineers who design burst capacity and intelligent auto-scaling into the foundation do not have to retrofit it later under pressure. It changes how you think about deployment. Models get updated. New versions get tested against production traffic. Rollbacks have to happen fast. If your deployment pipeline wasn't built to handle continuous model iteration, you're going to feel that pain every single release cycle. And here's the business dimension that matters most. When someone in your organization says, we need to move faster on AI, they're not asking you to evaluate a model. They're telling you that they're watching competitors operate more efficiently than they can, and they need infrastructure that closes that gap. The engineers who hear that request and know exactly how to architect for it are the ones getting pulled into the most important conversations. Skill 2, engineering leadership. I want to reframe what leadership actually means in the context of cloud engineering, because most people hear that word and picture a manager in a meeting room. That's not what I'm talking about. Engineering leadership is the ability to see the full picture of a technical decision, technical, financial, organizational, when everyone else is only seeing one dimension. Here's a scenario that plays out constantly in real environments. An organization needs to choose a cloud strategy, stay on their current platform, migrate to Azure, or build multi-cloud. An engineer without this skill runs a technical comparison and recommends the best platform. An engineer with this skill asks a different set of questions. What does our team actually know? And how long does it take to close the skill gap on anything unfamiliar? What does that runway cost the business in delayed delivery? What happens to our optionality if we build deep dependencies on a specific set of services and need to change direction in 18 months? What's the actual risk profile of getting this timeline wrong? And we're communicating that risk clearly to the people making the decision. That is a different conversation entirely. And it's the conversation that senior and principal engineers lead. Leadership also shows up in how you handle failure. Production systems go down. It's not a question of whether it happens, it's when. The engineers who build reputations and careers are not the ones who had the fewest incidents. They're the ones who, when something broke, owned it completely, resolved it with urgency, documented every detail of what happened and why, and came back with a plan that made the same failure impossible. The pattern: own it, fix it, prevent it. is what separates engineers who advance from engineers who plateau. And when timelines are set that cannot be met, the engineers who push back with data, propose realistic alternatives, and manage expectations up the chain, those are the engineers organizations build around. AI is accelerating the need for this skill, not reducing it. Execution is getting automated. Judgment is not. Skill 3, reasoning from first principles. There's a pattern I see constantly in engineers who are stuck at a certain level. They solve new problems by finding the closest existing solution and applying it without fully understanding why it worked. A well-known company runs on microservices, so microservices must be the answer. Kubernetes is everywhere in job descriptions, so every infrastructure problem must be a Kubernetes problem. The tool arrives before the problem is understood, and the solution fits the template more than it fits the actual need. Reasoning from first principles means refusing to do that. It means going back to what you actually know to be true about the problem in front of you and building your thinking forward from there without borrowing assumptions from somewhere else. In practice, it looks like this. A team wants to build a data processing pipeline. The instinct is to stand up a database, but ask, what does this data actually need to do? Does it need to be queried historically, or does it need to flow through a series of transformations and produce a result at the end? If it's the second thing, Azure Stream Analytics connected to event hubs might eliminate the database entirely and produce a simpler, cheaper, faster system. That answer doesn't come from knowing what tools exist. It comes from understanding the problem clearly enough to know which tool is actually called for. This matters especially right now because AI infrastructure is genuinely new territory. There are no decades of established patterns for how to serve high throughput Azure OpenAI endpoints to enterprise users at scale. There's no standard playbook for how to handle graceful degradation when a deployed model starts drifting. Engineers who can reason from fundamentals are the ones who figure these out. Everyone else waits for a tutorial that may never come. One more dimension of this skill that I think is underappreciated. First principles thinking means questioning the requirements themselves, not just how to meet them. When a stakeholder specifies a requirement, ask what the underlying need actually is. Because sometimes a stated requirement is solving the wrong version of the problem. And the engineer who identifies that before the build starts saves their organization enormous time and cost. Skill 4, real technical depth on Azure. Every mindset skill I've described falls flat without the ability to actually build. And I want to draw a clear line here between what building actually means and what most people are doing when they think they're building. Watching a tutorial while following along is not building. Deploying a course project where every decision was made before you is not building. Getting a certification that validates your conceptual knowledge is not building. Building is designing a system where you had to make the architectural choices, where you had to figure out what broke and why, where you can explain every decision you make and defend it against a reasonable alternative. That is the experience that shows up differently in an interview, and hiring managers can feel the difference immediately. On Azure specifically, there are several areas where real depth matters. Networking is the foundation of everything else. Virtual networks, subnets, network security groups, private endpoints, hub and spoke topology. Every enterprise Azure environment is built on these decisions. Engineers who cannot reason clearly about networking cannot reason clearly about security, costs, or performance. Infrastructure as code is non-negotiable. Bicep or Terraform. Pick one and go deep. Production Azure environments are not managed through Portal at scale. If you can't describe your infrastructure as code, you're not working the way production teams work. CI/CD pipelines and Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions are how changes get to production safely. Understanding how to build, test, and deploy automatically is expected in any serious engineering role. And increasingly, Azure's AI infrastructure services are showing up in requirements. Azure Machine Learning Model for lifecycle management. Azure OpenAI Service for integrating language model capabilities. Azure Container Apps for scaling model servicing. Practical exposure to these services is still rare enough at the junior and mid-level that having it sets you meaningfully apart. The underlying principle is this: depth in any form of these areas matters more than breadth across all of them. Azure will keep releasing new services. Best practices will shift. Some things that are standard today will be replaced by something better in a few years. What doesn't change is the value of an engineer who can go deep, who understands the trade-offs they're making, and who can explain their reasoning clearly. Develop that habit now. Build weekly. Increase the complexity over time. Put your thinking somewhere public. This is what creates a track record. Skill 5, designing security in, not bolting it on. It's a set of decisions that get made at the beginning, or they get made for you by whoever finds the gap first. Here's an assumption I want you to build every system around. Given enough time and motivation, any system can be compromised. That assumption changes how you design everything. Instead of asking, how do I keep attackers out? You ask, if an attacker gets in, what can they actually reach and how much damage can they do? That question leads you into defense in layers. If a credential gets stolen, does MFA stop the access? If a service gets compromised, does network segmentation prevent lateral movement? If data gets exfiltrated, is it encrypted in a way that makes it useless? No single control point, no single failure mode. Every single layer assumes the previous one might fail. On Azure, this translates into specific decisions you make during design, not after deployment. Microsoft Defender for Cloud configured to surface misconfigurations before they become incidents. Azure Private Link implemented so sensitive traffic never touches the public internet. Conditional access policies and Entra ID that enforce context-aware authentication, not just a password. Azure policy assignments that make non-compliant resource configurations impossible to deploy in the first place. These are not remediation tools. They're design decisions. And the engineers who understand the difference are the ones who build the systems that hold up under pressure. This skill has become more urgent because the threat landscape has shifted. Attacks are faster, more targeted, and they're more automated than they were 2 years ago. AI-generated phishing content is indistinguishable from legitimate communication. Vulnerability scanning runs continuously and at scale. The window between a misconfiguration appearing and it being exploited is shrinking. The only reliable answer is engineers who build with security as the starting point, not as the financial checklist item before go live. The way to develop this skill is to build something and then sit down and try to break it. Map out every assumption you made. Find the places where a single failure cascades. Ask what an insider threat looks like, not just an external one. That adversarial thinking practiced consistently during design is what makes the difference. 5 skills. Building with an AI-first architecture mindset. Engineering leadership. Reasoning from first principles. Real technical depth in Azure. Designing security in from the start. You don't need to master all 5 simultaneously. Pick the 1 or 2 where the gap between where you are and where you need to be feels most significant. Work on those deliberately. Build things. Document your thinking. Take on ownership that makes you feel uncomfortable. The engineers who are in the strongest position right now did not get there by waiting to feel ready. They identified where the market was heading, they started building towards it, and the confidence came from the work, not the other way around. If the uncertainty you feel about AI is sitting with you right now, pay attention to that. It's useful information. It's telling you there's a gap between your current skill set and where the industry is moving. The gap is closable, but it does not close on its own. The engineers who recognize this moment and build deliberately towards it are going to have more leverage in this field over the next several years than any other previous point in the industry. That opportunity is in front of you right now. I've linked some resources in the description to help you start building these skills in Azure specifically. As always, see you in the next one.